Tämä on se Radio Robin Hood.
Hello listeners and welcome to another episode of Conversation Oasis, coming to you from the city core of Turku, from Kasviskeidas. You're listening to Radio Robin Hood. This is the weekly conversation program. And tonight I have with me Jalal, the keeper of the place, and we have two special guests from Tuolla Observatory, Roberto and Ronald, and also we have with us Julian, and I am Ville, your host this time. So this is actually like the second episode of Keidas Conversation Oasis Goes to Space, because space is such a vast place. Last time I have to apologize, our transmission went 3 minutes too long and it had to be cut short, but this time we're going to be more precise with our navigation. So one topic that I wanted to talk with you guys is SpaceX, the project led by Elon Musk, and the recent Starman, that the Tesla car and the pilot doll that was shot into space. What are your thoughts about this project? Anyone?
Well, I remember in that day everybody was excited and talking about it, but I don't know today.
Or is it already old news?
But was it a week ago? Not even, no?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And basically the car is just one part of the project. Of course, they were testing this new rocket system where they, what are they called? The support rockets?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, boosters. Just they come back and land.
No, they did that before.
That's
They're just testing the heavy lifter.
They said like the, what's it called, like SpaceX Heavy or something like that, or some
Falcon Heavy.
Falcon Heavy, yeah. So like a bigger scale thing, and apparently
I think the biggest rocket until now that's been into space.
Yeah.
I highly doubt that the Saturn V is by far the biggest I think for the
then
Apollo.
No, in terms
Here's
of thrust,
information from me.
Yeah, in terms of thrust
I think
also.
in thrust it is more.
Yeah, I think the Apollo had like 5,000 tons of thrust. I think it was like absolutely incredible. So.
But this was like in news, like most powerful.
Okay, then yes, I don't know, but but the Apollo was humongous, so I would be very surprised if they did that on the private.
Maybe it's still like one of the biggest.
Because the car weighs about 1 ton, let's say 2.
Yeah.
But for example, even the space shuttle weighs about 100 tons, roundabout, like. So that was not the biggest. So the space shuttle system that they used to get the space shuttle up had a payload of about 100 tons. And then the Apollo was even more. Although the actual payload, like the capsule, was not that heavy, but because it needed so many stages to get it up, so it was bigger than even the space shuttle.
Yeah.
But
lift
then
system.
there is something else with this rocket, because when you just get up and out of orbit, so you need some certain amount of fuel. But when getting back and landing, again you need another extra fuel.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Very good point. Yes.
Yeah, and also right away when I saw it, I right away understood the cultural references related to the car. I don't know if you guys have seen this old animation called Heavy Metal. The first scene of the animation, it dates back to 80s or something, maybe 70s even, I'm not sure, maybe 80s. And in the starting scene, there's this shuttle in the orbit, and the lower hatches open, and this car comes down. It's an open like a roadster, just a similar one but white. And there's this guy in a space suit, and the car just floats in the orbit. And it looks really similar to Elon Musk's car. So I was looking. It was one of my favorite animations when I was a kid. So I was actually seeing like fantasy becoming reality in a sense, and I was really impressed.
The fantasy becoming reality is, I think, a good metaphor for the whole thing, because I think this project brought us a huge step towards interstellar travel.
Yeah.
And
Which project?
this SpaceX in general, because I think they put much more innovation in space travel than NASA could in the past years, because of their, let's say, legal
budget.
registrations and budget registrations, and they have been cut short each year. And
I think also Trump appointed a new NASA administrator, if I understood right. I'm not sure, actually.
Trump is pointing every 6 months or every few months.
Yeah.
It's really,
I think
every
he's just
sector of this.
signing new papers all day, I guess, taking photos for the photo album. But anyhow, even the Roadster is aimed to get into the close. I'm not actually sure if it's actually planned to land on Mars, but it's.
Well, it won't land. It will crash
Yeah, that's a good point.
eventually.
Yeah,
But
maybe bump with
to
the
put an opposing opinion,
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't read much about this SpaceX program. We're talking about now about it, but so you guys tell me some info. But from what I get, from what I heard also from you now, unfortunately, I have to say, I mean, apart from the system that allows you to land back vertically, which is not new either, and surely they didn't land back vertically with the car. They left the car in space.
The boosters
so they're
did,
only landing the boost system, which is a part of the rocket, and it's relatively lightweight. So that's a couple of years old. That's really amazing stuff technologically. But in terms of getting interesting things into space, this has been done 40 years ago, and even much heavier objects than this car. So purely technically, whether it's a car or any other, all the satellites we're using that we also use in astronomy, many of them are, not just here on this table in size, but they're like huge.
Yeah.
Right? So and the International
Hubble
Space
Telescope.
Hubble Space Telescope is huge. The International Space Station
PWST.
is humongous, has been built up.
PWST.
So in terms of technological or achievement, for example, the ISS is like several orders of magnitude bigger project than getting this car into space.
PWST is going to be launched by Rewan 5.
Is even also much bigger. It's going to be launched soon. So it is. I have to say, or I want to say, as a argument point, it is a PR fad of Elon Musk.
Yeah.
And now suddenly people think, oh, now they have like managed to get this car up there. They could have gotten cars. They did get much bigger, more complicated things into space than this car.
You can put all kind of payload.
Half a century ago.
I remember we were talking at the time with Wille that I said to Wille, for me this is very childish idea to put that car. But Wille said something else which probably more right about this case is public image of the science. Is helping the science become more public and probably motivating people get back to choose this kind of field for the studying and in university and probably.
I remember our conversation, and what I was saying back then is that it kind of gave this adventurous feeling about the space. So basically, I totally agree with you, Ronald, what you said about the technical things, and it is also a PR stunt, obviously, but at the same time, I think it was kind of a message that we don't have to be super serious, so we can just be a little childish and adventure in space. So it kind of gets this. If you oppose that to old school, like some decades ago, when everything that goes to space is done by some big empire, like as a show of their war power and that kind of thing.
It still is.
Yeah, and still
is. The engines come from Russia.
Yeah.
The engines are RD-180s from Russia. There is nothing new. You just put them together.
The Falcon's engines are
RD-180s. The RD-180s
So
from
that's
Russia.
the thing. You have to be careful a little bit.
It's not developing anything new.
With the self-driving cars, this has been done at universities. But now Google is making huge deals. It's been done in 30 years ago already.
Yes.
With computer power 1,000 times less than now, and even then it worked partially. So it is really, we have to, I would take this as an example. So I agree with you, it puts adventure, but it's following. What can you do with the car in space? Nothing. We've put things in space which actually have, for a scientist at least, we're both scientists, which are actually for us exciting. For me, the car is not exciting. For many people, it is. So there's the point. I give you that point. But I'm sort of saying it's slightly also sad that we first have to put something useless in space just because people think it's cool. And the actual cool stuff, people either didn't notice or thought it was boring. But that's what I say is cool, right? I mean, I personally feel like to put a Hubble Space Telescope or many other, even
communication satellites,
which we're using all the time, and partially big
Earth
ones.
science satellites.
This has all been there, but people don't even know about it, or don't care, or don't know what.
But they depend on
now
them.
It's a car which doesn't belong into space, and we're all excited. So it's a bit weird.
They depend on them, though.
Yeah, I would say that probably there are two sides to it, because probably some people will, because of that car, be more interested about all the other stuff. Also, they will actually look into space instead of their cell phone, possibly. And also, I think it's kind of like if you think about the first. Well, this is a bad comparison, but if you think about the first, like a moon flight or that, so there was a lot of audience. Everybody was looking in space. So I think this is kind of like a hope that people are more focused to those things. But I totally agree with you on that of course there are like the new telescopes and all that are very interesting and really like.
To be honest, it's a false thing. I mean, in reality, the point is that Elon Musk is doing that because NASA has been starved of funds to develop new lifting systems.
But then there is another
That's
point
the problem.
in here probably we are missing. How our mind is functioning, because you're right that people in that day, even here, that they are mostly the students and they know the science, but they never talked about the other rockets taking the satellites out there. They never talked about it, and they didn't even. There are all those also in internet. You can find them and look at them live.
It's all there.
But nobody talk about them. But suddenly car and this driver puppet in there. Everybody was asking, "Did you see that thing?" And there is live in YouTube. You can watch it. But so what then? But our mind still is more fantasized with this. It's like attracted to this kind of fake.
Yeah, I would say that the dangerous side to this
media.
The dangerous side is in this that kind of campaigns would dominate in the future. That you don't actually send anything there which is not related to pop culture or tourism or something like that. So the science would be undermined like later on. That's kind of the risk, but the potential is that there's much more interest and like more future scientists who decide, I want to study, like kids who see this video, they're like, I want to be an astronomer, for example.
But I don't think
It's hard to say.
But then they don't realize what the stuff really is about.
Yeah, but I was just going to say, I mean, there's a lot of campaigns, and as far as I perceive it, to get people to be interested in or eventually study science. But I worry sometimes also in my everyday experience that we are selling something else than what it is or should be or was.
Yeah.
And we're actually changing the science that way also. And now maybe that's a good thing, but this is a different discussion now. This is science in general. But I was also thinking it's also the media, right? So I'm not sure in this particular case, but it seems to matter even more nowadays in the age of the internet that you have your, let's say, outlets, that you already have a name, usually. So whether it's Google or Elon Musk, Tesla, I mean, they are not the only ones developing electric cars. Why is everyone talking about Tesla though? Every brand of cars nowadays, every manufacturer has electric cars, for let's take with the cars now. So I think we're because of this humongous amount of information, it's getting even more focused on those that know how to appeal to some attention, short-term attention, like in some way. So it becomes even more important not what you actually did, but how you managed to bring it to the public. So that's what I'm also a little bit worried about, that it's getting ever more important. Not saying like everything that Elon Musk is doing is bad, and for sure there's big visions behind it, which we can all more or less, I think, also agree on. But in this case, the example is not that bad, but in principle, just shows. Let's say I had somehow managed, to build a rocket and shoot a car into space, and if I had like emailed a couple of news outlets or so on, maybe it would have become a sensation. But chances are that if two people do the same thing, that one will be noticed and the other won't. That's what I'm saying.
This is, I think, top of the capitalism. A week before that, there was a news about Tesla company is financially in trouble, and suddenly Tesla is putting that car in there, and probably now people buy more Tesla car. I don't know. And it's the same company.
That actually comes to another question that comes to my mind. Like some way back, it's long time ago, but I read about these visions that some companies, say like Coca-Cola or something, they kind of wanted to have their adverts in space so that people would always see it in the night. That kind of stuff. It was probably just like a hoax or just like a silly article. But then again, now we have an advert in space, basically. So it's maybe the first one, but
it is the top of capitalism.
But I think there's kind of a bit of a risk. We have to make some kind of rules about this. I don't want to look at space and see some adverts during the night, but
that's what happened because of the International Astronomical Union.
We look at it this way.
Protest heavily.
Yeah,
it's helping us still because if the space science and space technology is coming out from the control of the governments and it's becoming more private business. So we need money, and this is how the big companies are making money and having enough budget for the space technology.
Yeah, there are many sides to that.
And that's because they're being subsidized by the state. Remember?
At least part of the funding, I think, is from NASA.
Yeah, from NASA.
I can't remember how much, but
essentially, it would be much better to do it in-house.
Yeah.
But it's the general question a little bit. Do you want to have how much or which parts of the economy do you want to have run, or the education? What do you want to have run by the government, representing, at least ideally, the people all equally, or to what degree do you want things be done by private?
The point is that space is a limited commodity. First, you got these morons in New Zealand who essentially launched a shiny satellite, which is actually brighter than the full moon. It's up for 9 months. It's going to make a massive astronomical observation. Look it up.
Huh?
They did.
Seriously?
Yep, seriously. Obviously, people are pissed off. Fortunately, it will drop in 9 months. But still, you got a satellite which is brighter than the full moon.
Really?
And it serves no purpose. It's just to show they could do it. So, also remember that space.
Are you sure you know what you're talking?
It's serious. It's true. Look it up.
And when is it going to come? Or what?
It's going to come down in 9 months. It's up.
It's already, but I didn't see it last night.
It's up. Look it up. Of course, it's a star, but it's brighter than the full moon. It's reflective.
Can we see it from this side of the?
Yes, you can. I think you have to look it up with the ephemeris, but it is certainly there.
What was the name of the?
What is it? Blue whale or something like that?
Okay.
Blue whale.
Or something like that.
I mean,
something from New Zealand.
Should be decided not by.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Also, you know about space junk?
Yeah.
Satellites that are dead. NASA's got a plan. You have to boost them up into high Earth orbit, or drop them.
Yeah.
These people maybe not. So maybe you got space junk destroying valuable stuff.
Yeah. That's a like a big issue in the future, like the space
well,
junk.
not even now. There have been a few satellites destroyed by space junk.
Yeah.
Once the shuttle got a big hole dropped into
it's also
a wing by space junk.
For astronauts, for sure, in the space station, like the more Usually it's micrometeoroids, right?
Yes,
They're like
or space junk.
very small pieces.
Yeah.
The bigger ones they can.
Remember, those things are
track.
moving fast.
Yeah.
They're moving at Mach 25.
Yeah.
If
yeah.
I throw, well, these at you at Mach 25, it's going to hurt.
I don't think anything hurts at that. There is no time to hurt.
Well, yes.
Can I for a
Okay,
moment?
no, yes, we are going to paint the floor with him at Mach 25, but
Yeah. All right, guys. You're listening to Conversation Oasis, coming to you from core of Turku, Kasviskeidas, and with me I have Jalal, Roberto, Julian, and Ronald, and I am Ville, your host this time. And we are now talking about space junk and cars in space and Elon Musk's campaign. And we have still 10 minutes remaining.
But it was very interesting. You put the car beside junks.
It might have been a coincidence. So yeah,
it could be space junk too. Supposedly lands on Mars.
yeah,
Supposedly
Earth
not being
also.
properly decontaminated.
yeah.
So it
Yeah.
imports bacteria from Earth on Mars.
Yeah, that's a good.
So do you know if it has been properly decontaminated?
Yeah, that would be irony because I think Elon Musk's plan or dream is to at least to someday like that humans could have some kind of a colony or something in Mars or habit Mars. I haven't really read about it. It's of course like a science fiction fantasy still, but this is like his I don't know PR or symbolic gesture to.
Not
send
many people
something-
have talked about this
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, of
it's
course.
the same thing again.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. it
This
is.
is not Elon Musk's
And there
idea.
is a little problem.
Yeah.
And there is a little problem with that.
Yeah.
But
It's called radiation.
Yeah.
Roberto,
Yeah.
If you're traveling in a Hohmann orbit, a minimum energy transfer orbit,
Yeah.
everybody is going to get the maximum permissible lifetime number of dose of radiation just on the way in.
Yeah.
Roberto and Ronald, I have one question for you. The question is that this is our future. Our future depends on space and space technology.
You
and
think
we
so?
are going to
It
move.
depends on that.
We are going to move
Okay.
out
It
from
will
the
involve
goes
that.
out.
It will have to
Yeah.
do with that, yes.
So that's future.
Right.
And you see that. Public don't see that. And you have a lot of serious concern that now are happening and they are wrong and they shouldn't be done. But you should find a better way to make it more public, to talk with public that these are really things going on.
I think it's at the end. It's you're right, but it's these things are not so simple, right? It's not. So I don't have an answer actually. What should be done and what not, but I can only
What is the
say
vision of radiation?
commercialization of space. There is probably some people that would advocate for it. I highly doubt that this is coming from philosophers. This is coming from either political parties that just want to now use also space to support their otherwise agenda, to use it as a justification. Look, it's good because we can also do this in space or so. If you really want to be honest about it, then we don't know much, I think, how it will be good or not good. Some people have, I guess, had serious thoughts about it, but it's something that we are, I think, only really starting to begin to seriously think about. So that is, now we're already setting, now we're getting to somewhat a new frontier, and we apply the same automatic, we're missing a chance here, like let's say you're going to space somehow, even if slowly. Maybe that could serve as a model for a different way of dealing with things than the way we're actually dealing with Earth and destructing Earth, right? So now we're destructing Earth, saying now we need to go to space. Now we're just going to continue to do the same thing.
It's not just to get out. It's whatever we do now is controlled from the space satellites. And those junks
It's very
soon can destroy any satellite or all of it. So it's very much dependent on those technology and what is going wrong in there, out of control of international community.
I agree. Yes.
Also,
Totally.
we have still 5 minutes left, and I have one thing in my mind, in kind of like maybe, I don't know how distant future, but there has been talk about maybe mining the asteroids or moving the mining resources to asteroids. Have you any ideas on that or thoughts?
I don't know.
They're far away.
I mean, I
It's a good
think
question.
it's in the end same thing. You know, they can say like, what about mining Antarctica?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
which is probably easier.
It's easier. It's still. In the end, it's actually, I think, opportunity to start thinking about what do we really want in life again.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And as a society, yes, we can. We probably will exploit space, but now maybe it's an opportunity. I think to realize, okay,
Yeah.
now this would be the last frontier. So then there is nothing in this universe that we don't commercialize or disrupt or. You know, it's always like we get something, and then after, sooner or later, we want more.
Yeah.
And to just break that thing maybe a little bit, and you hear all the astronauts, anyone who has been up in space and looked down on Earth says, look, this is absolutely it's a mind-changing, like life-changing experience, right? The beauty and the value, the immaterial value of things. And I think maybe we could, instead of mining the asteroids, maybe we could mine outer space for a perspective that otherwise apparently we can't get nowadays. But that's just my thought.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think that's a really good thought, and I think there should be like I think this is a good moment to call for this kind of like also ethics and self-reflection of our whole species.
Yeah.
That's
So
That's a
the
really
point is
important
that it's better to mine our mind first to become a little bit more mature about.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
There are valuable raw materials, but of course, then we probably bringing them back.
Yeah, the good thing about I'm thinking about the asteroids is that nowadays when geologists, when they graduate, they have this dilemma if they have any environmental thinking about with them. The main industries that give them jobs is the oil industry and the mining industry, and then they have like this kind of, or they could be specialists in some organization, but still making these reports on how just sustainable mining is, which is of course dangerous. I mean, hard to make it really sustainable. So what I'm seeing is maybe one day like a geologist could have like kind of environmentally friendly job opportunities up in the asteroids or something. I don't know.
Let's ask if Julia has anything to say for the last.
Last
words?
2 minutes.
I don't know.
A lot of thoughts.
Don't know what about.
Well, you said at the beginning that you thought it's in a way a good thing because it gets people excited, or
Yeah, I mean,
Sure.
it's like you said, it makes people look up in space instead of on their phone. So he, I mean, what for example, to come back at Elon Musk, what he did, of course, he packed the whole thing in a marketing package, and that's interesting for the consumer. Otherwise, or for the everyday guy. Otherwise, they would not have seen it, and then it would be like the rocket launches the years before. There's some rocket shot into space. Who cares?
Yeah.
And for that, I think he did it good, because it was not his mission to get the car up there. It was his mission to test this rocket system, and they needed let's say a payload, and he said, "Oh yeah, let's take my car."
All right, guys, we are out of time. Thank you everybody for this episode, and this is the Conversation Oasis again. Bye bye.
Thank you.